Hello everyone, my name is Patrícia Moreira and today I will present you our work about the beneficial effects of compounds extracted from Eucalyptus globulus biomass on skin health. Eucalyptus globulus is a tree native to Australia and extensively planted in many countries of Europe, including Portugal. As you well know, the exploration of eucalyptus by the pulp, paper and wood industry generates large amounts of residual biomass, namely bark, leaves and branches, whose valorization can represent a significant contribution to the circular economy. The potential of Eucalyptus globulus byproducts as a source of bioactive compounds has been demonstrated. In fact, Eucalyptus globulus is traditionally used for the treatment of respiratory problems. Furthermore, recent papers highlighted the antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and even anti-cancer properties of extracts and essential oils from Eucalyptus globulus, reinforcing the interest in developing studies focused on its byproducts. Eucalyptus globulus is also used in therapeutic and cosmetic preparations due to its reported properties. However, its dermatological effects have not been demonstrated. The skin is the largest organ of the human body and consists of three separate but functionally interdependent layers. Two of them are the epidermis and dermis represented in the figure. The epidermis is the outermost layer of the skin, and keratinocytes comprise over 90% of the cellular population of this layer. The dermis is the layer below the epidermis, and fibroblasts represent the primary cell type that compose this layer. Apart from being a protective barrier against mechanical and chemical injuries, the skin is also responsible for supplying innate and adaptive immune defenses, production vitamin D and thermoregulation, functioning as a sensory organ, and preventing dehydration. There are many skin alterations, and their most common causes include bacteria, fungi, virus, contact with allergens or irritants, genetic factors, certain diseases affecting the thyroid and kidneys, and also immune system problems. The skin alterations can also be developed as a consequence of numerous health conditions and lifestyle factors. Moreover, some skin conditions are consequences of aging. The most common age-related skin conditions are benign and malignant tumors, dry skin, ulcers, itching, pigmentation, wrinkles, and fungal infections, which result from decreased functional capacity and increased skin susceptibility to develop dermatosis. Therefore, strategies to prevent or delay skin aging as well as for the treatment of skin alterations are necessary. The aims of this study were chemical characterized extracts from Eucalyptus globulus biomass, to evaluate their antifungal activity, to perform cytotoxicity screening in different cell lines representative of the skin, and to study their anti-inflammatory activity as well as their skin protection against damaging insults, namely evaluating its anti-aging and healing activities. For that, the Eucalyptus globulus biomass was submitted to an extraction process in order to obtain the essential oil and the phenolic extract. The chemical analysis of the essential oil was performed by gas chromatography, and the analysis of the phenolic compounds present in the extract was performed by liquid chromatography. The main components of the essential oil and the most abundant phenolic compounds present in the extract are represented in the table, with cineol and alpha-pinene being the main components identified in the essential oil. The 5-caffeoylquinic acid and the ellagic acid were the most abundant compounds present in the phenolic extract. The antifungal activity of the essential oil in phenolic extract was evaluated against several pathogenic strains. A microdilution method was used to evaluate the minimal inhibitory concentrations of the essential oil and phenolic extract. The minimal lethal concentrations were also determined as the lowest concentrations of the extracts that induced fungal death. Regarding the table where I represented the results, in general, the essential oil was effective against all tested strains with minimal inhibitory concentrations ranging from 1.25 to 5 mg per milliliter. The phenolic extract demonstrated antifungal activity against dermatophytes, especially against microsporochenes and epidermophyton fucosum with a minimal inhibitory concentrations of 200 micrograms per milliliter. These results suggest the potential of the phenolic extract for the treatment of fungi responsible for skin, hair, and nails infections. We also did a cytotoxicity screening of the essential oil and phenolic extract from Eucalyptus globulus in different cell lines representative of the skin. For that, we evaluated the cell toxicity using the MTT assay, which is an assay to measure the viable cells. And looking for our results, we identified doses of the essential oil and phenolic extract that are safe to the innate immune system and to the skin cells from the epidermis and from the dermis. So these results inspired the evaluation of their bioactive effects in order to evaluate the future incorporation of these bioactives in oral or topical pharmaceutical formulations. Regarding the anti-inflammatory activity, cells of the immune system were incubated with a pro-inflammatory insult, the LPS, in the absence or presence of the essential oil or the phenolic extract. Then the anti-inflammatory activity was evaluated by nitric oxide production and by expression of pro-inflammatory mediators by RT-PCR. An increase in these parameters means more inflammation. And looking for the results, in all the graphs we can see the control in white, and immediately after in orange and green the phenolic extract and the essential oil, where we can note absence of inflammation. Next, in gray, we can see the inflammatory stimulus LPS that causes inflammation. Then we can observe again in orange and green the phenolic extract and the essential oil in the presence of LPS, where we can note less inflammation compared to LPS alone, allowing us to conclude that the essential oil and the phenolic extract from Eucalyptus globulus demonstrated anti-inflammatory activity by decreasing levels of inflammatory mediators. Thus, these results suggest that further studies are required involving extracts of Eucalyptus globulus as a therapeutic option in diseases associated with deregulated inflammatory responses. To evaluate the anti-aging or anti-senescence activity, the cellular aging or senescence was induced in cells of the epidermis with etoposide, after the cells were treated in absence or presence of the essential oil or the phenolic extract. Then the senescent cells were quantified using a beta-glucosidase kit and a wide field microscope. This technique labels the senescent cells with blue color, so more blue cells means more senescence. And looking for the images and for the graphs which represent its quantification, in white we have the control, and immediately after in orange and green the phenolic extract and the essential oil, where we can observe absence of senescence, as you can see by the low number of senescent cells in the images. Next, in gray, we can see the etoposide that causes senescence, as you also can observe by the increased number of senescent cells in the image. Then we can see again in orange and green the phenolic extract and the essential oil in the presence of etoposide, where we can note less senescent cells compared to etoposide alone. So these results demonstrated that the essential oil and phenolic extract from Eucalyptus globulus have no senescence effect by themselves and have the ability to reduce the senescence caused by the etoposide in cells of the epidermis. The same results were observed in cells of the dermis, where low number of senescent cells was observed in the control and the extracts alone. Then an increase in the number of senescent cells was observed in cells treated with etoposide, which was reduced by the phenolic extract and the essential oil. So, taken together, these results suggest that the phenolic extract obtained from Eucalyptus globulus, as well as their essential oil, can protect against skin aging. Thus, the incorporation of bioactive compounds extracted from Eucalyptus globulus in cosmetic and/or dermatologic products can have beneficial effects for the prevention and/or treatment of several skin aging-related conditions. Additionally, in order to evaluate the healing effect of the extracts, we performed a mechanical injury on cells of the skin and quantified the area caused by this injury before and after treatment with the extracts. However, no significant differences in the wound healing were observed between the control and the cells treated with the phenolic extract or the essential oil from the Eucalyptus globulus. So, in conclusion, we chemically characterized the essential oil and phenolic extract obtained from Eucalyptus globulus biomass, and we demonstrated that these extracts decrease the aging phenotype in skin cells and have an anti-inflammatory profile in cells from the immune system. In addition, safe doses of both extracts were identified, supporting the future exploitation of their oral or topic application. Finally, the phenolic extract demonstrated antifungal activity against dermatophytes, and taken together, these findings suggest that forestry biomass from Eucalyptus globulus is a relevant source of bioactives able to be incorporated in cosmetic and pharmaceutical products. Finally, I would like to thank everyone involved in the work and to the financial support, and thank you for your attention.
Good morning or good evening. I am Juan Villar from the INIA, the Spanish National Institute for Agricultural Research. And I'm going to present the economic evaluation of the lignocellulosic biomass pretreatment by the diluted sulfuric acid method. This work has been made in collaboration with Universidad de la República from Montevideo, Uruguay, and with Universidad Complutense from Madrid, Spain. As you know, the pretreatment is the key step in the lignocellulosic biomass valorization. Many pretreatments have been proposed. Perhaps the most usual are steam explosion, diluted sulfuric acid hydrolysis, or water solvent fractionation. But in all the cases, the main drawback of pretreatment are the costs associated to the energy. For this reason, a techno-economic analysis of the diluted sulfuric acid fractionation is necessary. The economic comparison will take into account two possibilities: a fractionation with mass and energy integration, and another possibility is the fractionation without this type of integration. Secondly, we have considered a sensitivity analysis of the key parameter, the liquid to solid ratio, which is changed into different values. The raw material used in this work is wet straw. Wet straw has a high polysaccharide content, about 1/3 are glucans, about 26% silans, has also a low lignin content, less than 40% in our case, and a moderate acid content. The simulated diluted sulfuric acid process considers the fractionation of biomass into a solid rich in cellulose and a liquid fraction. From this residual liquid, lignin is precipitated and the hemicellulose remain in the liquid stream. The solid fraction is then conducted to a two-step washing and then enzymatically hydrolyzed to obtain a cellulose solution. Further transformation of glucose is not considered. Water from the spent liquid and from the first washing stem is recovered, recycled to the pretreatment reactor in the integrated flow sheet. The simulation of the process was designed in Aspen Plus version 9 to set up a plant processing of 100 tons by day of dye wet straw. the non-random to-liquid property method was used and components in Aspen database were used. 3 different liquid-to-solid ratio, 10, 20, and 30 were considered for simulation. We have considered only capital and operating cost. Other costs were not considered because we think they are similar for both alternatives, the alternative with and without mass and energy integration. Only the stage of pretreatment and the stage of enzymatic hydrolysis have been considered in the comparison. Costs of the upstream or downstream stages were not considered. In the pretreatment, we have used 1% of sulfuric acid on dry wet straw. The flow was pretreated at 160 degrees because the acid pretreatment. After this pretreatment, the solid fraction is filtrated and thickened at 40%. The pretreatment stems are flashed until 1 atmosphere, and the material of the installation is stainless steel 316L. In the washing step, we have considered 2 stages with a liquid-solid ratio of 4. In the evaporator, we have considered a 2-effect evaporator and a final sugar concentration of 40%, considered as the sum of glucose and xylose. In the enzymatic hydrolysis, we use a solid to liquid ratio of 1:9 and what means a consistency of 10%. The material of the installation is stainless steel 304L. In the pretreatment, we have considered the next reaction, the solubilization, liquefaction of cellulose, hydrolysis of xylans, hydrolysis of lignin, xylans transformation of furfural, cellulose transformation to hydroxymethyl furfural, the hydrolysis of arabinan, and the decomposition of acetyl group, also the dissolution of acids. In the enzymatic hydrolysis, we have considered only the transformation of cellulose to glucose. All these years were obtained experimentally in our laboratories. In this table, we represent the equipment and facilities costs in blue color and the operation costs in green color. All of them expressed as dollar by year. We observed that facilities and equipment costs are not affected by the integration. The results are very similar in the 3 first rows than in the 3 last rows, and they are very few affected by the liquid to solid ratio. About 40% in the first case when we change this liquid to solid ratio from 10 to 30, and more or less the same, 13% in the case of integrated process. However, utilities and water consumption are affected by the integration, and especially by the liquid to solid ratio. We observe very big differences. For instance, with a liquid to solid ratio of 20, the utilities change from 3.8 millions to 2.5 millions. And when we change the liquid to solid ratio, we have differences from 1 to 2.9 in the non-integrated option, and from 1 to 2.2 in the integrated option. Finally, as the main conclusion, we have presented the total cost for the two alternatives, without integration and with integration of mass and energy flows. We observe a very big difference. Results show that integrated flows reduce the operating cost by 50% compared with a non-integrated alternative. Liquid-solid ratio, represented with 3 different colors, significantly affect the economy of the process. The operating cost is reduced from $170 to $80 by ton, when the liquid-to-solid ratio varies from 30 to 1. As a final conclusion, the diluted sulfuric acid method for biomass pretreatment could be a good alternative for pretreatment. The integration of mass and energy costs are the best option, and the cost change significantly when you need to use a high liquid-to-solid ratio, as in most cases when you use annual plants. Finally, I want to thank the financial support of the Spanish Ministry of Science and Innovation, also the financial support of the Madrid regional government, and the cooperation of the Ibero-American Program on Science and Technology for Development, which conduces to the cooperation with the Universidad of the República. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Mihaela, and I am going to talk about potential for producing acetic acid and furfural in COIMBRA mill. Starting with a small introduction about COIMBRA. COIMBRA is a dissolving pulp production industry where the principle of a chemical cooking process consists on separating lignin from cellulose. This separation is achieved by an acid sulfide process with magnesium as base, being the only company to use this process. In 2014, it started the conversion from paper grade to dissolving pulp, with a modification of bleaching stage from elemental chlorine-free to totally chlorine-free. This process change can allow a chemical recovery from the sap streams of the process, namely from the thin liquor stream. The continuous investment in the study of new techniques for valorization of industrial side streams is fundamental to improve COIMBRA's economic and environmental sustainability. Thin liquor is a result from Eucalyptus globulus COIMBRA cooking process. It is further concentrated in an evaporation plant with 7 effects, originating the thick liquor with about 55% of solid content. Throughout the thin liquor evaporation, under vacuum and high temperatures, volatile compounds are removed and dissolved in evaporation condensates, more than 90%. These condensates can be divided in washy condensate and acid condensate depending on their SO2 content. Acetic acid and furfural are the most interesting volatile compounds, and they are formed during the sulfide cooking, being furfural formed by dehydration of pentosis and acetic acid from deacetylation of xylene. Acetic acid is used as a raw material for multiple chemicals production and has several applications such as plastics, textiles, solvents, molding compounds, and food. The main consumers of acetic acid are vinyl acetate monomer and purified terephthalic acid, which represents around 50 to 55% of the market. The main consumer of acetic acid is China, followed by Latin America, Europe, and North America. In terms of furfural consumption, furfuryl alcohol represents around 75 to 80% of the market. The most relevant applications are associated to resins in the foundry industry. However, furfural is a renewable-based chemical with differentiating properties that make it very useful It is an excellent solvent with high reactivity, low viscosity, and low toxicity in solvents, polymers, foods, or pharmaceuticals. China is the biggest consumer of furfural, representing about 70% of the global consumption. Now, let's see the acetic and furfural acid in an industrial context. Acetic acid and furfural are obtained from the hemicelluloses in the Eucalyptus globulus root, namely xylans, which consist on linear chains made of xylose sugars branched by acetyl groups and uronic acids. Acetic acid can be produced by a huge variety of processes, namely by the oxidation of acetaldehyde and ethane, liquid oxidation of butane or naphtha, ethanol fermentation, methanol carbonylation, anaerobic fermentation, as well as by liquid-liquid extraction, for example, extraction from industrial condensates. Methanol carbonylation dominates the market with around 85%. However, its applicability to the COIMBRA process is very low. Furfural differs from acetic acid by having only two possible paths for its production. 1. Dehydration of C5 sugars present in biomass, or liquid-liquid extraction of residual sulfite liquor streams. For streams with low concentration of volatile compounds, it can be used as liquid-liquid extraction, with solvents either with low or high boiling point. Using low boiling point solvents is already a common methodology in the recovery of acetic acid, for example PTA and PVA industry. It is carried out via simple liquid-liquid extraction of acetic acid from a diluted stream, 2 to 5% of acetic acid, through solvents such as MTBE or ethyl acetate, for example, followed by the recovery of acetic acid by distillation of the solvent. Previous studies demonstrated a non-applicability to the COIMBRA process using this kind of solvents with a low boiling point. One of the biggest concerns about this kind of solvent is the high steam consumption that is needed to make a great separation of highly dilute solutions. So a viable process choice can be a liquid-liquid extraction using high boiling point solvents, such as TOPO or TBP. Could be applied to COIMBRA streams that have 0.1 to 2% of acetic acid, and since they have a high selectivity to extraction of carboxylic acid or weak organic acids. Through this process, the steps to be highlighted are the extraction phase, the solvent recovery step, and distillation of the volatile compounds. The big difference to our present process would be an extraction phase of acetic and furfural acid with a new stripper phase, and the extracted condensate without the volatile compounds will go to the effluent treatment system, the effluent plant. So to make this future process viable, the present work, beside the exploring of the best options of recovery of acetic acid and furfural from side streams, present a characterization and subsequent study of COIMBRA evaporation plant in order to estimate the future advantages of this process. For the experimental part, we needed industrial condensates, thin and thick spent liquors, standard solutions to quantify volatile compounds by high-performance liquid chromatography, with cooperation of University of Aveiro. So based on exploratory works carried out in 2008, it is possible to compare the results with the state of the evaporation plant at the present moment with the transformation of paper grade to dissolving pulp production. It is possible to verify, for example, that the concentration of acetic acid obtained in a thick liquor does not differ significantly from the past, standing at approximately 10 grams per liter, while the concentration of furfural are residual compared to previous analysis. It is still evident the increase of acetic acid concentration in the washing condensate compared to 2008, being positive for a possible recovery process. In acid condensate, concentrations are lower since this stream is rich in SO2 content and lower in acid. The profile of acetic acid concentrations in intermediate condensates is about 2 to 4 grams per liter higher than in the past, mainly because of the process's change. In the case of furfural, the differences in the concentration profile is more evident and are associated to the effects of higher temperatures. A detailed study of the presence of these volatile compounds in the evaporation streams, namely its quantification or qualification and their variability over time, it is needed in order to understand the possible impact of a new installation operation. So after evaluating the obtained results, it can be concluded that the levels of acetic acid present in washing condensates with an average of 12 grams per liter, while furfural is around 1.1 grams per liter, increasing its average from 2018 to now, to the present moment. On acid condensates, the quantities of these compounds are clearly lower due to the nature of these streams, reaching an average of 6.3 grams per liter and 0.12 grams per liter of acetic acid and furfural, respectively. With these results, a heightened certainty related to the presence of furfural in this type of industrial stream is notorious. Chemical oxygen demand, COD, of the condensates sent to the treatment system is largely determined by the amount of acetic acid. So we can see that exists a direct correlation with values of COD. So, with a possible recovery process, the COD values will be lower, placing less load on the treatment system with consequent environmental and economic improvement. Now, with our results and making a balance at evaporation plant, we can see that based on the analysis performed on the evaporation profile in the past, the amount of acetic acid in the intermediate condensates reveals its highest concentrations in the effects 2 to 4. At the present moment, it is possible to observe a more uniform distribution in each effect, so it makes sense to treat the condensate as a total and not every effect as separated. This profile change can be explained by the conversion of COIMBRA's cooking process to the production of dissolving pulp grade, increasing their flow and acetic acid concentration. This behavior is not seen in furfural, so if the recovery and separation of these compounds from the acid condensate is considered, a previous stripping operation would be necessary to remove the SO2 present in this type of industrial streams. So now, after all the results of this study, we can conclude that based on the characterization of the evaporation profile and subsequent balance, it is possible to estimate a possible future production of acetic acid and furfural. Based on the analysis of different existing processes regarding the recovery and separation of these volatile compounds, liquid-liquid extraction is a more viable and practical option for COIMBRA industrial process, requiring a high boiling solvent point, such as topo, to maximize the operation. The increase in the concentration of acetic acid when the process changes to dissolving pulp process, namely 2 to 4 grams per liter, enhances its effective removal and separation of evaporation streams. So possible recovery of these volatile compounds present two possible scenarios, using streams with or without acid condensate. So, in this context, the potential future production in a scenario where 80 cubic meter per hour of washing condensate plus 30 cubic meter per hour of acid condensate are used is about 8,600 tons per year of acetic acid and 700 tons per year of furfural. So, the implementation of this new process reveals an improving of the COIMBRA profits and makes the process more environmentally friendly. So now at the end, I want to thank you to the COIMBRA Camp project and thank you to you, that are watching my presentation. So bye!
Well, hello, good afternoon.
Hello!
Hello,
Miguel.
I am
Hello.
Juan Carlos, Patrícia, Mihaela. I am Miguel Zanuttini. I am in charge of the discussion of this session. And first, I have to thanks to the speaker for the excellent presentation. And so I will go to the questions that we have. First of all, I will take this order. For Juan Carlos, okay? Say, I might have missed it, but what was the typical accessibility of your pretreated substrate? What was the glucose concentration after enzymatic hydrolysis? And he said, I wonder if it was high enough to support the viable bioprocess, such as cellulosic ethanol. You understand?
Yes, with this substrate, with wet straw, we choose it because there are a lot of information, a very good result. We obtain, our intention was to produce the cellulosic solid in the pretreatment with the lowest energy input. And surprisingly, we obtain very good results with about 80% of conversion of glucose into cellulose, conversion of cellulose into glucose, near the 80% in these conditions.
Okay, we have more questions for you, Juan Carlos, but we can go to Patrícia. Patrícia, were polyphenolic used in the organic solution or dried before the application?
Yes, the polyphenolics were freeze-dried, and before tested in the cells, the powder was dissolved in a saline solution. But yes, the polyphenolics were freeze-dried.
Patrícia, have you considered others extractive? That not only what you are considering?
I'm sorry. What? I don't know if I understand.
Yes, and the question is, have you considered other kind of extractive? I mean, from wood or from another part of the tree. I mean.
No. Only the leaves.
Okay. We can go to Juan Carlos. A question about the temperature. Was 160 degree the optimal pretreatment temperature for wheat straw? And I know something more. It seems very low to me. What was the pretreatment time, and is it effect on the process cost?
Yes, really is low, this temperature, in comparison with other experiences. Our first idea was not obtain a maximum, was obtain a solid, a cellulosic solid, good enough to be hydrolyzed with the enzymes. So this was also a part of our biggest work. In this big work, we have tested different pretreatment. An organosol pretreatment, and also diluted sulfuric acid pretreatment. So we use this condition for the comparison of both. In this conference, we have only shown the result of diluted sulfuric acid pretreatment. And even in this condition, with temperature very low, we obtain around 80% of cellulose conversion to glucose. And the time, I don't remember the time exactly, time of pretreatment, I think it was 90 minutes perhaps, but I'm not sure. Sorry, don't remember the treatment time.
Okay. Another question for Mihaela. What is the solvent, this topo solvent, and why it was used for acetic acid?
Yes, I will say the complete name of topo. So topo, it is trioctylphosphine oxide. It is a compound to use in extraction, in liquid extraction, and has a good selectivity, in this case with acetic acid, with the acid to basically it can have helps to his extraction in the process. So topo is one of the solvent that facilitate this extraction in a liquid process. And it is used with acetic acid because of that, because it has a good selectivity. And based on our studies, it has a good performance. So
okay. So you have tried two kind of solvents in your work.
What? Sorry?
You have considered only two solvents, or only topo solvent,
yes.
not more.
At the moment, yes, we will work with topo, but it's the most principal. It's because of the studies that we make in base in literature, books, papers, that we know that topo it is one of the solvent that is most used. And we know that another industry of dissolving pulp has a similar process, and they also use this kind of solvent, and it works. So this was our begin in these studies.
Okay, so I'm answering one of the questions that was here. Another question from Mihaela is: have you performed a techno-economical evaluation of this liquid extraction to obtain acetic acid and sulfur?
Yes, at the first of this project, we made evaluation, evaluation of theory about of this process to see if could apply, if really we could have advantages with this extraction, liquid extraction. And we have made evaporation plant balance, mass balance, and economic balance to see what would be our advantages. So yes, we made it at the first of this project.
Which is the cost of the acetic acid in the market, more or less. Do you remember?
Yes, I'm not sure, but acetic acid, I think, have the cost in public market 500 to 600 euros. I'm not sure, but it is a good value we've made, and we will have advantages to perform this type of process of extraction.
Wait,
Miguel,
we don't have more questions. Yes?
Miguel, I have found the condition of the pretreatment with sulfuric acid.
Good.
Time 45 minutes and the temperature 160 degrees.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
can
have
I
another
add
question.
something too? Sorry. Because
Sorry?
I saw
Yes.
that you scratched the question for me, and I don't know if the previous question was about the extraction method. I don't know if I understand the question, but I didn't answer. But if you want, I can answer now to this question
Yes.
about the extraction. So the
Yes.
I don't know, because I think I can hear you well. Can I?
Yes.
Okay. So the essential oil was obtained by hydrodistillation, and the phenolic extract was obtained with aqueous solvent. So now this question is correctly answered.
Okay. Right. Perfect.
Okay.
Good. Juan Carlos, I have a question for you. It's possible to consider the different efficiencies that you can get if you change the biomass water ratio in your
Yes.
study?
Yes, of course. We have tested different biomass because we plan to mix biomass, trying to think in a meal as big as possible. But unfortunately, not all the biomasses respond so good. For instance, we have tested corn stover, that is also a very studied biomass, and the results were not so good like with straw, no? With cereal straw. Here is important the type of biomass. Lignocellulose biomass, for example, the wood chips could be a good alternative because one of the conclusion of our work is that the ratio liquid to solid in the pretreatment greatly affect the final economic balance, and woody materials need a reduced liquid to solid ratio. In the other extreme, the cereal, the straw, needs almost 20 liters by kilogram of raw material.
Okay, thank you. We will have more written questions. Yeah, we have. For Mihaela, what type of purity of acetic acid and furfural product, I suppose, that is needed? What's the purity that you consider
Yes.
that is necessary?
So our goal at the moment it is to have a high purity of acetic acid and furfural. We will have these compounds in the maximum purity. We distillate. We will have a distillation phase to have this extraction with a high purity, with a maximum high purity possible.
Okay. Can you, Mihaela, separate furfural from hydroxymethylfurfural, or they are put together in this mixture?
At the moment, we are focused to the general process, and we don't. We are characterizing hydroxymethylfurfural too, because we can't at the moment to say if we will could if we could separate or not hydroxymethylfurfural from furfural. So, but at the moment, we are having studies to see what are the compounds that will be separated, and but the purpose it is to have furfural pure without the hydroxymethyl furfural.
Okay. Okay. For you, Mihaela, another question. Do you think that bioacetic acid potentially produced in COIMBRA has advantages in the market against fossil-based acetic?
Well, we like to think that we have the advantage because we made our studies about the market of acetic acid, and we hope that we'll have advantage of have acetic acid from a renewable source. So yes, we like to think that would be an advantage compared to another processes of acetic acid.
Okay. We're waiting for more questions. We're open for that. So I have one question for Patrícia. It's strange that we don't have this extractive in the market, or we have this. I mean, use it in the cosmetic products. I don't know now.
We don't. No.
It's not used.
No.
Okay, now it's possible. Thanks you. Okay. Okay. Perfect. And you had made a very complete study about that, so excellent. Really excellent presentation.
It's not completed. We need more in vitro studies using more robust techniques to confirm these results. But yes, it's starting to be completed, but is not completed yet. But are good results with good indications.
Well, for you, Patrícia, how are you planning to incorporate the extracts for skin application?
Yes, we are thinking. We are planning to incorporate these extracts in one topic formulation. We are planning to use a neutral cream and incorporate the extracts there.
Okay.
With the aim for the prevention or treatment of skin aging related conditions.
It should be in a water-based preparation or alcohol-based?
Is water-based.
You know, the solubility. Okay. Okay, I think that we have more questions. I think it was a very fruitful session. I enjoyed it. So now we can close the session, and thanks, of course, to the speakers and for the discussion also. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.